Up, everybody? Oh, how are you guys doing? Was scheduled to probably go on at like 8:30. Something came up, so I'm going live like at around 9 o'clock. So it's probably like a minute early. So 8:59. It was good to see my buddy Josh. I'll go live today. Mysteries Unknown. It was great seeing him on there. So yeah, it's always a good time. What's up, Greaseback? Hey man, how are you doing, buddy? Ross, what's going on, man? What's up? What's up? Yeah, I'm just kind of you guys kind of caught me working on what's up there 87. Kristen, what's going on? Yeah, watching Josh was great. What's up, Wayland? Yeah, I'm working on the thumbnail. You guys, I got a special well, I don't know if you guys call it special or not, but this is going to be the name of this live when I go and I do what I need to do. What's up there, Boone? Tanya? About to settle down for the night. Hope you had a great. I did, man. Thank you, and they are well. Thank you so much. Um, so the title, the one I'm gonna go with, I came up with a couple of them. Yeah, it was good seeing Josh on there. It really was. It really was. Ross, just dropping in to say hello, brother. Could you shout out my girlfriend Stephanie? Stephanie, what's going on? How are you doing this evening? Hope all is well. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Tammy, what's going on? How you doing? You guys, so the title of this is going to be True Story, My Real Bigfoot Encounter. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to break down my encounters for you guys, if you're interested. If not, then we'll just go back to what the regular format was. And hey, not a problem, man. Um, and I'll just bring up some sites and read some encounters. I mean, I can still do that as well, but I know on the last live that I did, a couple people, sorry, a couple people wanted to. Let me check something out here real quick. Oh, I can mute. There we go. Good to see everybody. So that's Cook Dano. What's that mean? Oh, cool. Okay, I got you. So yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll tell you guys what's up, Steamboat. I'll tell you guys my encounters. Again, the first two I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to say we're Bigfoot, but after you hear them, if you haven't already heard them, you guys be the judge. Then I'll tell you about my sighting. Then I will tell you about the last two encounters that I had. Um, do what you like. Poncho, what's going on, man? No, brother. Hey, if you had a good time in Josh's chat, you're gonna love this chat. My chat. I'll tell you right now, I got some great moderators in here that waste no time getting rid of people who want to be jerks. So you're safe in here, man. You guys, Poncho's a new sub. He came over from Josh's. Luis, what's going on? Vice, what's up, man? Really? Okay. Untitled Truth, what's going on? Aloha. See, guys, that's what happens when you come in here. Hey, Texas. Let's see. Let me get this. Hold on. Let me read this one. Why didn't y'all invite George Floyd at Thanksgiving dinner? Yep, you guys. Check your mods. Check up. How y'all doing, Pothead? What's going on? Just getting over. I don't know what that is. An overdose of Not sure what that is, Poncho. Been on a Bigfoot kick for the past 2 months. I can't stop. So I Untitled. I did see you in Josh's chat. So if you're new to my channel, you guys, he's from the Big Island. Justin, what's going on? Don't know, don't know Justin. But what I'm gonna do, you guys, I'm gonna kind of get into kind of what. What's up, Roy? What's up, Mark? Awesome, another Aussie. I love it. Untitled Truth. I'm a woman. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to misgender you. I'm sorry. CT, what's going on? I'm going to you guys get into what kind of started me into this whole world of cryptids. Um, and now I will come out and say this first that what really got me excited or what really got me interested in cryptids was the Patterson Gimlin film. I saw that when I was about, oh, I don't know, 10 or 11, around there. And when when I had my sighting in 1984, um, that really just kind of, it wasn't really, I would say, like a downward spiral into um, like a bad thing. It just made me, hungry to finally understand, that there's something out there that's way bigger. When I saw the Patterson Gimlin film, I was like, oh, that is like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. They're in Northern California for sure. Um, I thought maybe they might be in like Southern Oregon or whatnot, but I didn't think that they were going to be up in Washington State. Now, again, this is 1984. I was 12 years old. Again, had really no clue. Um, Fast forward like 30 something years is when I heard my first podcast that had anything to do with Sasquatch, Bigfoot. And sorry guys, man, I'm almost over this cold. Um but I heard Sasquatch Chronicles and I emailed them and I got invited on the show. And now, Wes is up in like the 1100s for his episodes. I was episode like between 460 and 480, I want to say. But again, when I emailed Wes, it was like 33 years. I said I've been holding this for like 33 years. Um, so I was like, what, 45, 46 around that time frame. What's up, dog? When I finally said, hey, I want to tell my story. Now, I didn't tell Wes the entire story. And the reason I didn't, because I didn't really know how it was going to be perceived. Because in the past, when I tried to tell people, um, family members especially, um, I just kind of got laughed at. Close friends got laughed at. Oh, you're making stuff up. You didn't see nothing. So um, I was like, here's what happened. And then I went on a couple more podcasts. And then between those, I really started listening to more podcasts, watching YouTube videos, trying to find all the audio that I could find. And things started clicking. Things started making more sense to me. The more I listened, the more I watched. Um, I'm hearing people explain things that I experienced when I was younger, before I had my sighting. Um, so the first one that I'm going to get into happened. Oh, I know Tanya didn't. But that's okay. That's okay. Again, real quick, if you guys are new to the channel, it's your first time jumping in here, please drop a one in the chat. Let us know where you're from. My name is Dano. I am the host of the Cryptid Podcast, where I interview people that's had encounters with with these cryptids, with these creatures. And yeah, so they're video interviews. Some of them are audio where people don't want to be on camera, which is completely fine. I understand that. I understand the secrecy. I understand the privacy. I understand they're not really sure, and they don't want to be called names or whatnot. Even though we do get trolls that jump in and want to say some stuff, which is stupid. Um, Samantha, what's going on? FDR, what's going on? 6'7". Oh my goodness. Jacksonville, Arkansas, outstanding. So anyway, um, I'm gonna preface this by when this first happened back in 1978, 79 time frame. I had no knowledge of what a Bigfoot was. I didn't know what a Sasquatch was. I didn't know who Patty was. I didn't know who, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin were. I didn't know who any of these people were. I didn't know what a Bigfoot was. This wasn't even my vocabulary. So my dad took me hunting one time when it wasn't really hunting, it was during the summer. So he wanted me to he wanted to introduce me to hunting. And my dad always carried a firearm with him when he went out in the woods. And we went to this place that was probably like northeast of Aberdeen, Washington, up in the Pacific Northwest. And oh man, this is gonna do this all over again. I'm gonna do this. There we go. Put that on there. Um, so when we went to this place called the hunting camp, we drove down this road. We this logging road. We parked on the side. We went down this trail. It was about a good 40, 45 minute hike into the woods. Came upon this camping site. It's obvious people had camped there. Yes, that's where Kurt Cobain's from. To have me and tell me. You see, Daniel, I still need to have me and my. I will, buddy. And I did get your email. Um, so we get there. My dad kind of shows me a little bit of the area, um, and we make camp. Eat. We go to bed. Get up. And when we got up, it wasn't like anybody who's hunted. Oh, it's Tafton. What's up, buddy? Anybody who's hunted, um, you get up before the sun rises. You go out to your deer stand or your blind, and you're in there before the sun comes up, and you're settled in, you're quiet, you're set up, you're ready to go. So when it's time to start hunting, when it's legally time to start hunting, you can be ready. Well, we had gone out after that time, so the sun was already coming up. It wasn't already up above the horizon. It was still low. You saw the glow coming in, so you saw some things, colors, and more shapes than anything. And we walk up this windy path, goes up, and we come up to where the deer stand is. Now, the day before, my dad had shown me where the deer stand was, and he explained to me why he had placed it, um, you know, why they placed it on this tree where they did. Um, there were two um, paths that the animals would use, game trails they would use, and it intersected about 25 to 30 feet um, in front of the deer stand. Behind the deer stand was like an open little area, kind of like a field, I would say, but not really. Maybe 40 to 50 feet wide by maybe, I don't know, maybe 75 yards long. And then there was the tree line. Now, in front of this tree stand, it went sloped down a hill. There was a lot of brush down near the bottom of the hill, and then there was a stream down there. So I'm sitting up in the deer stand with my dad, and my dad's kind of looking around in his little like bag, knapsack, whatever. And he says like, I forgot whatever. I don't remember what he said he forgot. He was looking at it with his little flashlight. And he tells me, he's like, listen, he goes, you're going to be safe up here. There's nothing up here that's going to bother you. You're up in this tree. You're perfectly safe up here. So what you need to do, just stay up here. I'm going to go down. I'm going to run back to camp, and camp round trip to and back was about 40 minutes. And so he gets out of the tree, and I'm kind of sitting forward and I'm watching him, and I see him start walking down, and he takes off running down the camp, or down towards the camp. So I'm sitting there, and as I'm, again, I'm 7 years old. I'm sitting in this deer stand. I got my foot kind of stretched out a little bit, and I'm kind of looking around, and I don't really hear anything. The only thing I really hear is the stream that's down below. So I'm sitting down again in this deer stand, and the stream starts like mesmerizing me. It just totally starts making me sleepy. So I kind of start like nodding off, and I put my hands, I remember doing this, I put my hands like this, and I slowly start nodding off. But that point where you feel yourself falling asleep, and you kind of jerk yourself, you kind of, startle yourself awake. And I that happens. Well, I kind of look around, and again, I don't hear anything but the stream. And as I moved my foot, it just didn't feel right. So I looked down, and I see that my bootlace is untied. Now I'm thinking maybe I caught it on this deer stand, because it was an old wooden pallet that my dad and my uncle had put up there, and they made it into a tree stand. So I bend down and I tie my boot up, and I start just kind of looking around again. Now the sun's coming up a little bit more, so it's getting a lot lighter. You can see things. And again, I don't hear anything. I don't smell anything, but I definitely hear the stream. And again, I start nodding off. Again, I kind of put my hands up underneath here. It's a little chilly in the morning, so I'm kind of like this. And I start nodding off, and then boom, you feel like you jump awake. And I look down, and I see that my boot is untied again. Now I'm not happy. I'm actually getting a little scared, and I yell to my dad, stop playing. Dad, stop it. You're scaring me. Tie my boot up again, and now I'm watching my boot, and it's sun starts coming up. Now I'm seeing colors, shapes, everything like that, starting, to really focus on my foot. So as I'm watching my foot, I hear this really loud, like crack come from the right-hand side of from where I'm at. And I look over real quick to see what it was, and I feel my boot, my foot like jerk down. And I look down, my boot's untied, and I jump up. And I start screaming. And I'm like, Dad, this isn't funny. I want to go home. I hate this. I don't want to be here. And I'm crying. I'm hysterical. I'm a 7-year-old kid. I look over to where my dad should be coming up, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Anybody in the area could hear me. I see my dad running up this hill, and I'm screaming at him. And he comes up, he's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. You're not gonna see nothing. You're gonna scare everything away. You're gonna scare everything away. And I go, Dad, you untied my boot. You're scaring me. I don't want to be here anymore. Let's go home. I want to go home. He's like, whoa. Hey, buddy, hey. Calm down. Take some deep breaths. I'm absolutely crying. And I'm like, Dad. And he's like, listen, calm down. Tell me what happened. So I recount everything that happened. And he's like, okay, stay where you're at. So my dad walks underneath the deer stand behind us. So I stand up and I'm looking, put my arms as much around the tree as I can, and I'm looking to see where he's doing what he's doing, where he's going. And he starts walking into the field behind me, or behind where the deer stand is. And I'm watching, and he's got he's now I know what the rifle was. It was a 30-30. And he had it over his shoulder, and he kind of squats down, and he kind of starts touching around the ground like he sees something. And then he stands up, and when he stands up, he takes his rifle off of his shoulder. And he starts walking forward a little bit towards the wood line. Well, then he maneuvers, works the action in the rifle, loads a round in the chamber, and he brings it up to his shoulder, and he starts scanning this tree line, and he's scanning back and forth, and all of a sudden he comes back and he stops like in one area, like he's focused right on this area, and he's watching, and he stands there for, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds, and he slowly starts walking back, and he's like, Daniel, get out of the tree right now. Get out of the tree. And I'm like, what? He's like, I said, get out of the damn tree. And so I'm like, oh. So I climb down, and as I climb down and I hit the ground, and we're about 12, maybe 15 feet up into the tree. This is where this tree stand is. My dad meets me there. He's like, listen, you need to run back to camp. Do not stop. I'll be right behind you. And I'm like, but Dad, he's like, I told you to move right now. I'll be right behind you. So I take off running, and I'm not sure how far ahead I get, but I don't hear my dad. I don't hear him coming behind me. Now, you gotta understand, my dad is my best friend in the world. My dad is like a superhero to me when I'm 7 years old. He still is today, even though he's passed away. But anyway, my dad and I, we do this cat and mouse game where he starts coming back and he sees me standing there and he yells at me to get moving. I told you to run. We do this like 2 or 3 more times before we finally are both at a dead run and we go into camp. And when we get into camp, I see my uncle. He immediately starts coming out of the tent because he hears us coming. And my dad runs right up to him. And he's like, what the hell are you doing up there? You're up there scaring Tony. My middle name's Anthony, so it's my nickname. You're up there, scaring him. What are you thinking? We're trying to get him. He's like, whoa, 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 calm down. I don't know what you're talking about. I just got back into camp, not even, 2 minutes ago. What's going on? So my dad tells him what's going on. And my dad's like, listen, we need to go. We're leaving. We're going now. So we pack up the camp and we leave. And that was that for that encounter. Now, I asked my dad years later, I go, Dad, what did you see up there at that time? And this is, again, I'm probably 15, 16 years old when I ask him. And he's like, I didn't see anything. He goes, it's what I heard. And I go, what do you mean? What did you hear? He's like, Daniel, I'm going to tell you right now. He goes, I've hunted up in Alaska, Montana, Oregon, Washington State. I have seen and heard grizzly bears, black bears, cougars, wolves. I've heard the gambit of what runs in these woods. I've never heard a growl like this. I've never heard a growl like this before. The minute I heard it, I felt it. And that's why we needed to get out of there. So that's what I believe was an encounter. Now, again, bears, mountain lions. What's up, Linda? Any of these animals that any of these animals that are in this area, they don't have the ability to untie your boot or whatever. Now, the thing is could it have been my dad or my uncle? No. Because my dad was only 5'7". My uncle was, I think, 5'10" or 6 feet tall. And there's no way they would be able to reach up and untie my boot. So that's what happened. Now, fast forward a couple years later, 79, 80, or 80, 81, around that time frame. We all decide we're going to go and have like a guy's weekend. It was me, my dad, my little brother, my uncle, his best friend, 2 of his neighbors, and then their 2 boys. And so we all load up the trucks. There's 3 trucks. We go to the same logging road. We go to the same spot. And I remember telling my dad, Dad, remember that's when my boot was untied. I remember telling him that when we were unpacking everything. We go in there. And the part that I didn't tell detail about the first one was the whole campground itself. It was a very, clear campground, had some nice trees in it, had an area for a nice campfire ring and type of stuff. It was not like a designated campground. It wasn't a designated camp spot. You hike in to get to this place, but people have obviously used this place for camping or whatnot, and we called it the hunting camp. It was right next to the stream, not too far up from the stream. The part of the stream that we saw, it was like a really slow moving part of the stream. So it had like a pool, and you'd see lots of fish. So as soon as we got there, and I look in the water and I see these trout, I immediately run up and like, Dad, can we go? Can we go fishing? Can we go? He's like, yeah, yeah, go ahead. So I grab all the fishing gear. Me and the boys, me, my little brother, and the other 2 kids, we go running over there and we're catching fish. And when I may say we're catching fish left and right. It's like we can throw before they were catching. So we catch all these fish, and we bring them up to my dad. And my dad's like, "Oh my gosh!" So we cleaned fish. My dad showed me how to clean fish and scale fish, and then we cooked them, and that's what we had for lunch. And we kind of messed around that day. Kids running around being stupid. We were shooting like 22 rifles. My uncle was there with us, and my dad was, and we were just shooting, little cans and things like that. We went to bed, got up the next morning again, goofing off, just be kids. They were kind of showing us all around the area and stuff, and they kind of were kind of giving us an education. Like, if you ever get lost, in the woods, look for this. If you ever lost, look for this. You know, don't eat this, don't touch that. This is okay. And so, sorry guys. And so, you know, again, shooting more guns that day, things like that, and had dinner, cleaned everything up. We went to bed. Now, that night, I thought I heard something walking around our camp, but I wasn't sure what it was. No clue what it was. So when we wake up the next morning, I go out and I see these tracks. Now again, I had no idea at this time what a Bigfoot was, and I thought they were bear tracks. Like, there was no definitive like human looking print. It looks like things were stepped on. And I go, Dad, I go, look, bear track. And he's like, oh yeah, those are bears. Well, again, we go and we start shooting more gun, more 22s and stuff. And way off in the distance, I hear this like loud like yell or roar or something. And I look at my dad and I go, Dad, I said, was that a bear? And he's like, yeah, that was a bear. Going about our business that night, eat, shoot more guns and stuff, had the campfire roaring. And we went to bed after we cleaned up our campsite. Went to bed, and we I'm awakened by I hear something moving around in our camp. And I mean, when I say moving around our camp, like stuff is getting moved around. You hear stuff getting wrecked, like our chairs were getting crushed and things like that. And so I sit up in my bed real quick and I look at my sleeping bag, and I sit up in my sleeping bag and I look at my dad, and I about ask him a question, and he puts his fingers to his lips and he is like telling me to be quiet. And I'm hearing all this ruckus going on. Now, my uncle, I looked across the tent, and my uncle and his friend are standing in the middle of the tent. There's like a little Coleman lantern about like this big that they had lit and turned on. It was had a low glow on it, so I can kind of see what was going on. And I saw that the other 2 adults were also sitting up. I could tell they both had handguns, and my dad, my uncle, and his friend all had rifles. And I look to my dad and I go to ask him, and that's when I hear something take its nails and drag its nails along the canvas tent behind me, all the way around the back side of the tent, along the other side of the tent, and then you hear it take off through the woods. And it was making no, it had no problem making all the noise it wanted to make through there. My little brother and the two kids were sound asleep. They were out. And I look at my dad and I'm sitting there and I'm crying. I know I did not sleep the rest of the night. I was up there with my dad. What's up? What's up, Josh? I was there with my dad. I was up with my dad and all the adults. I was the only kid that was up. My uncle saw like daylight kind of peeking through the front flap of the um of the tent. And so he gets up and he starts walking and he takes his rifle, again, a 30-30, and he kind of pokes it through the flap and moves the flap to the left. And he kind of looks out and then he steps out. A second, guys. He steps out. And all of a sudden I hear him go, Dean, you've got to see this. And so I'm not going to not be nosy. So I get up and I run as fast as I can right out the tent. And our tent was trashed. And when I say, I'm just going to leave it off, you guys. Well, I guess not. Now, when I say trashed, I mean it was absolutely wrecked. All the lawn chairs that we had, they were literally just twisted. Any of the coolers that we had looked like the lids were completely just peeled completely off. Now I'm seeing obvious footprints. They look like someone giant was walking around leaving footprints. Our food bags, okay? Our food bags that were hung up in the trees were all down on the ground. Cans were crushed. Anything that wasn't in a can was gone. It was all gone. I looked at my dad. My dad goes, get them up and get the sleeping bags. We're leaving. We're leaving. So I go in, I get the boys up. We start pulling sleeping bags out. Everybody's taking things down. The tent was not even neatly packed. We had brought everything in on like a couple of, like 2 or 3 deer sleds, right? So they start putting everything they can that we're keeping. Everything that was destroyed, we left. We just left there. And we start taking off back through the woods. Now, like I said, it was like a 40 to 45 minute hike into where this camping area was. As we're moving, now the lineup was the two neighbors, their 2 boys, my uncle's friend, me and my little brother, then my uncle, and then my dad. As we're moving through weaving around on this path, I hear my dad and my uncle go, I've got one here on the left. I've got one over here on the right. And their rifles are up and they're ready. They're kind of looking. And they're like, we got to go. Let's move. Well, my little brother and one of the other kids were just slowing everything down. So my uncle grabbed my brother and put him on one of the sleds. My uncle's friend grabbed one of the other kids, put him on a sled, and now we're almost at a run going up. We come up the embankment onto the road. I jump right into the first bed of the truck that's right there. My dad moves, jumps into the back of the other truck. My little brother gets put into the cab of the truck that I'm in. Everybody else gets in the trucks. My uncle jumps into the bed of the truck with me, and someone slaps the side of the truck or hood of the truck. That was the signal, I guess, for us to take off. So as we're taking off, We're not even moving 10 seconds, 15 seconds. My uncle starts shooting. Boom, boom, boom. Now, my uncle and my dad were both veterans, and they're both hunters. They're not going to shoot just to shoot. And the way I looked up, I saw my dad, and he was like this, and he was acquiring target or targets, and he was very methodically taking shots at this thing. And we took off, and we sped down this dirt road, and we never went back. I'd never been back to that place. Did I hear noises? Yes, I did. I heard, again, I thought, to my 9-year-old brain, I'm thinking there's a bunch of bears chasing us. Because earlier, a couple of days earlier, I heard that big bear. And I asked my dad, was that a bear? I don't think it was a bear, guys. I don't think they were bears chasing us through the woods. I think they were escorting us out of the woods. And one thing that happened was when we were leaving, I looked up to see what my dad was doing as he was shooting. A large branch or a stick or something comes flying through the air, like a spear almost, and it went between the truck my dad was in and the truck that I was in. And just went right between the two trucks off to the other side of the road, off into the woods. I don't know what it could be. I don't. Did I ever see anything? No, I didn't see anything. But you're right. They don't throw spears. What could it be? Now, I will tell you, I did do some investigation probably, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. There are a lot of sightings, a lot of reported sightings in that area. A lot. So, so that was the second encounter that I had. Now, before I get into my sighting, I just want to say, everybody, hello. Thank you so much for joining the channel. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Dano. I'm the host of the Cryptid Podcast, and I bring people on who has had encounters with the cryptid. It could be Bigfoot, it could be Dogman, it could be Mothman. I see a bunch of hubbub going on in the chat. So, you know, people don't have to believe. They don't. My wife doesn't believe. My kids don't believe. But that's okay. Again, if you're new to the chat, please drop a 1 in the comments and let me know where you're from. I know I saw someone jump on from Australia earlier, someone from the Big Island of Hawaii. They're on. Yeah. So that's that. I also want to say, you guys, it is, I guess it's Small Business Saturday, and I am a huge proponent, a huge, supporter of small businesses. And so I have a buddy of mine in Cadillac, Michigan, and he is a coffee roaster. And so if you guys enjoy a good cup of quality coffee, one of the big stores, okay, none of the big stores. I'm not going to name them because I don't want them to say, oh, he's trashing our name. So I'm not going to name them. But you guys know who I'm talking about. Check out, and Steamboat, you did it last time. Could you do it now? Check out www.owleye.coffee.com. That's OWLEYE coffee.com. And if you guys like what you see on their site, if you're interested on partaking of what they're selling, getting a good bag of coffee, then at your checkout, for 15% off of your order, put in the promo code DANO, capital D, capital A, capital N, capital O. The promo code DANO gets you 15%. All right. I am going to do a couple of I'll read a couple of encounters if you guys want to hear some. All you guys got to do is give me a state and a county. Let me know if you want it to be a Bigfoot or Dogman, or if you want to hear about a particular cryptid. Let me know what that cryptid starts with, like what's the name of the cryptid. I'll see if I can find it for you. Andre, what's going on? Oh, look at Leah. She jumps right in. Texas Sasquatch. Okay. I will look up the Netherlands. Let me check one site to see if I have anything for the Netherlands. Let me look. I'm looking. I'm looking. I thought I saw one on one of these sites from the Netherlands. Let me look here. I don't see one. Let me check another one here. Nope, nothing there. Let's see if I have a Dogman encounter in the Netherlands. Hold on a second here. Whoever Wyoming, Laramie County. I will absolutely check out Wyoming, Laramie County. Leah, what county in Texas, or do you care? Let me do this here. Okay, let's see here. Steam. No, that's not it. Sam Houston National Park. I need to know what county that's in. All right, let me see here. Anybody from Texas? I got family in here. Love you too, kiddo. It's good seeing you. Lone Star Trail. Let me see what county that's in. Oh, you're in the Netherlands. Okay. I've been there. Actually, let's see here. Have there been any Bigfoot reports on or near the Lone Star Trail in Texas? Oh, well, let's see here. Okay. So apparently, is that in East Texas? Let's see if I can find something here. Let's see if I can find anything, you guys, here. 1 second. What I'm looking for is okay, here's reports. Here we go. Let's see if I can find some reports here on this site. Okay, here we go. State. We'll do Texas. All right, let's see here. What county is the Okay, so it's in 3 counties. It's in Montgomery, Cito, and Walker. Okay, so let me look there. Let me look there. Montgomery. Okay, I'll look Montgomery. Okay. So if you guys would like to hear an encounter, Bigfoot encounter, let me know what you want, Bigfoot or Dogman. Let me know what state and what county. Montgomery County. Okay, so um, there have been a lot of. Okay, so here's one June 12th. Excuse me, June of 2012. On the full moon of June 2012, about the 4th, in the Sam Houston National Forest north of Conroe. Myself and my 4 daughters, um, excuse me, 4 teenage girls, my daughter and 3 of her friends witnessed, after tree knocks and whoops, a large animal about 50 yards away staring at us next to a large pine tree. When the girls all screamed a death-curdling scream at the same time, and one pointed at the animal while it was staring, the animal moved across the front of the pine tree where all four, let's see, all four saw the silhouette moving, blocking out the moonlight. It was at least 8 to 9 feet tall, extremely wide. I found tracks the next day and took a casting of an inch deep impression in pine needles, 16 to 18 inches long. Other tracks were found, but it had rained since. I regularly visit the spot and have had all sorts of happenings with many witnesses. So this guy goes back. He says every 6 months. Every 6 months. So, so that one is in Montgomery. They have it listed as a Class B, but it's a Class A. Um, so Lee, is that one okay? Do you want to hear one more? It's only an hour away. So they're in there. This is just Montgomery County. Um, Montgomery County, they have 16. Walker County, which is also part of that trail. Um, Walker has 5, and then San Jacinto, I think that's how you say it, San Jacinto, has 7. So there you go. Let's look at Laramie County, Wyoming. There's nothing in Laramie County, Wyoming. Nothing at all. There are sightings. There's 9 in Park. So who wanted Wyoming? Charles, what's going on? So bag of sand. No, doesn't the Netherlands have like a conscripted army where you have to do a mandatory 2 years? Bren, how's it going? Park County, Wyoming. Okay. Let's see here. Is that what you said? Yep, Park County. Let me check it out. Oh, so you guys don't have conscripted armies anymore? Okay. So here's one. July of 2002. It's a Class A. Noon sighting by family of 4 near Mount Washburn, Yellowstone National Park. So it's Canyon Junction, Wyoming, Yellowstone National Park. The nearest road is the Grand Loop Road. So if you know where that is, uh, I was in my parents' car on the northwest side of Mount Washburn in Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming, when my mother, dad, brother, and I saw a humanoid figure too tall to be a human walking upright along the ridge around 300 yards off. It looked hairy and between 8 to 10 feet tall. It was around noon and it was partly cloudy. My family was scanning the ridge for bighorn sheep when we saw it. So that makes me wonder if you're scanning the ridge with for bighorn sheep, were you using binoculars? Yep, they were. They were watching it through binoculars. They're saying it was slightly bent forward, like a person might be, as if they were using a walking stick. Arms were swinging. Um, the witness, the witness's mother stated it looked. She looked for a snout but saw none. Uh, Although the animal was in profile, witness's father stated that he observed the bipedal looked to be about 15 to 20 steps before losing sight of it. So, yeah. So they observed this thing about 3 to 400 yards away using binoculars because they were scanning the ridgeline looking for bighorn sheep. That's crazy. All right. All right, you guys. Again, welcome everybody to the channel. Thank you so much for joining the channel. If you guys are new to the chat, please drop a 1 in the comments and let us know where you're from. Hey, Taft, it was good seeing you, man. I hope you have a great night. And let us know where you guys are from. Now, I'm going to go into my sighting. So, again, this happened in 1984. It was in Graham, Washington, where I was living at the time. And my brother and I, we had just moved back living to my dad. He's newly single. My step parent and I didn't get along, either did with my little brother. So we moved back to live with my dad, and he had bought like 5 acres of land. It was mostly forested. It had pines and other native trees. He cleared a small area. Now we didn't know that he bought this property. We were living in a retirement RV park. And at the time we were, oh, well, no, I ain't gonna tell him that one yet. Um, we were hanging out in Tacoma, Washington with my aunt and my uncle and my cousins. Um, my dad came down, picked us up, took us to this new property. And we were living in a fifth wheel, so a camper at the time, because he was building a house on the property. And one day, it was right around the very start of springtime. We were having a really bad storm that came through. Wind, rain, thunder, lightning. My dad had used anchor straps to anchor down the camper and put some cement blocks underneath, trying to give it more of a stable foundation. And my brother and I slept up in the little loft area of this fifth wheel. And if you're looking at it, I slept here on the right hand side, which was closest to where the wood line and the tree line was. My brother slept over here, where it was like the clearing where the yard would be, but also where there's a big deck that my dad had built onto the camper. As we're sleeping, I wake up because I hear this loud crack of lightning and thunder. And the camper's kind of shaking a little every time when the wind would blow. So I'm laying there with my eyes open. I'm looking up at the ceiling. Next thing you know, it feels like the camper does one of these numbers. It feels like it goes like this, tips, and then comes back down really hard. So much so that it rolled me off of my mattress onto the floor, like into this little area between my brothers and I. So I quickly looked out the curtain, pulled the curtain out, and looked out. And as I did, this flash of lightning hit. lit everything up. And I see this thing moving by this tree. It walked underneath this branch that was on this tree and off into the woods. A second here, you guys. Okay, so I see this and I start yelling, Dad, Dad, I just saw a Bigfoot. I just saw a Bigfoot. Now, remember, between the last encounter that I had when I was 9 that's when the area about I was about 10 or 11 when I saw the Patterson Gimlin film. So now I was aware of what these things were, but I didn't think they were in Washington State. Always, I thought they, like I said earlier, I thought they were in Northern California, maybe Oregon. There's no way they're crossing the Columbia River into Washington State. That was my mind thought. My mind, that's what I was thinking. So I say this, and my dad tells me to shut up. I didn't see anything. Go back to sleep. It was just thunder. And no, I knew what I saw. So I didn't fall asleep for the rest of the night. Morning comes. I get up. I go outside, and I'm looking around. And my dad's like, "What are you doing out here?" I go, "Dad, I know what I saw." He's like, "There's Daniel, you did not see." I go, "Dad, yes, I did. I watched it walk underneath this tree branch." And so he's like, "Okay." So he gets a tape measure and he starts using his tape measure up, right? And he goes, "Tell me when to stop." So I say, "Stop." And he looks, he's like, "There's no way, Daniel. Daniel, there's no way." I go, "Why?" I go, "How tall is it?" He goes, "You're looking well over 8 feet tall. There's no way." I go, "Dad, yes, I saw." He goes, "No." I go, "Dad, it walked right through there." It did. I watched it. So we walked over there, and you could see where some of the branches and some of the pine trees were pushed in, and some may have been broken, but you couldn't see any tracks or prints because it had rained all night, and it was like a heavy rain. So again, my dad's telling me I didn't see it. I'm not happy, and I turn around, and as I start turning around and start walking towards the camper, I look at my dad and I go, "Then what made that? What happened to the camper?" There was a huge dent in the side of this camper. And he's like, I go, "Dad, it was that, I'm telling you, it was a Bigfoot." And he's like, "Well, you don't need to say anything to your brother. I don't want your brother knowing, if you think that's what it was." I go, "I'm telling you that's what it was." And he's like, "Don't tell your brother." Well, my little brother walks around and says, "Well, tell me what?" And my dad goes, "Oh, a tree branch hit the camper last night." So, okay, I'm gonna put a timeout here real quick. Hey, Steamboat, one last time, let's tell everybody what episode yours is. I want to make sure everybody knows what episode yours is. Yeah, bag of sand. There was a massive dent in the side of the camper. Okay, episode 11. Let's stop telling your story. If people want to see your episode and hear your story, let's check out episode 11, you guys. All right, back to my live, Steamboat. You're killing me, kid. You're killing me. So, yeah, bag of sands. There was damage to the camper, and it was a huge dent. Also, um, some of the anchor straps that my dad had used were pulled out of the ground, and some of the cement blocks that he'd placed under for a more sturdier foundation was they were broken. So after that happened, we really didn't see or hear anything else. We didn't hear or see anything else. until we were coming back from spring break. My brother and I had spent the entire spring break um, in Tacoma, Washington, and as we were coming down, now we lived off of a main street, like not a main street, but like the paved road ended, and at the end is where a gravel road began, and it kind of branched off to the side, and there was one street light there. And as the road from the paved road went down, it was just a gravel road, kind of sloped down, then it evened out, and then it would have another rise up a little bit, then it would go for a little ways, then it would dip down again. And so it had like actually it had three of these little dips. Now, when I was a kid, I thought this road was like 5 miles long. In actuality, you guys, it was maybe a mile and a half, maybe mile three quarters max. And so as we come down off of this paved road down onto the um into the gravel road, my dad's headlights, they catch like a faint eye shine way down the road, and it's on the passenger side. And I go, Dad, I said, I just saw something up, like eye shine or something up there. Turn your brights on. And he's like, no, it'll see us coming, it'll hear us coming, it'll move. So my dad had, and again, whoever is a car person in the chat, you'll understand. My dad had like this 1971 Ford Mustang, like like a Boss 302 or something like that, a Mach 1 or whatever. It was a fast car. It was a hot rod. And he had taken, when we moved here, he had put some driving lights on the front, but he angled them out at like a 45-degree angle or so, so he could see the sides of the road, because there were so many deer, coyotes, and a bunch of other wildlife, porcupines, things like that that were out in this area. And my dad did not want anything hitting his car. He didn't want to hit anything with his car. So as we're driving down, we go down into this little dip, and then we come up on this rise. And as we come up on this rise, I see the eye shine again. I go, Dad, turn your brights on, because that thing is still up there. And he's like, no. He goes, trust me, it'll move. It will move. So I'm like, okay. So now I'm kind of getting agitated. And we go down this dip, and we start coming up this rise. And as we get to the top of the rise, my dad decides to turn on his brights and those driving lights. And it literally lit the entire area in front of us up. It lit everything up. And there it was, about 20 to 25 feet in front of us on the passenger side of the car, just off of the road a little bit. When my dad lit her up, and I say her because her arm went up like this to block her eyes, and she turned at the waist when she did it. And that's when I saw her chest area. I got a good look at her face. I got a good look at her palms. So if you could see like the detail in your own palms, I saw that. I saw that detail in her palm. It was a female because I saw her breast. They had hair, but it wasn't super thick hair. Her body type, the best way I can describe it is like Patty from the Patterson Gimlin film. But she wasn't like barrel. She wasn't like barrel shaped, so to speak. She was about 7 to 7.5 feet tall, maybe weighed 500 to 600 pounds. Um, her her hair was like a dark, like charcoalish gray, and her skin was black. Her palms were black. Her face was black. She had no hair on her face. She did have long hair, and it did come down. She was kind of muscular, but she wasn't as broad as um, Patty from the Patterson Gimlin film. She um when she turned back, when she started turning back, I slipped down into the floorboard of the car and the front seat because I was terrified. but I was also super excited at the same time. And the reason I was because I'm in my mind, I'm saying, I knew it. I knew it. I knew they're here. I knew they were here. But at the same time, I'm like, holy crap, they're here. And my dad never sped up. My dad never slowed down. He just kept a constant speed. Now, my little brother is in the back seat, sound asleep. As I think that we're past where I just saw her. And so I slowly start peeking up and looking out the front passenger window. And the way the lights were angled out, I could still kind of see off to the side. And I saw her standing in the woods. So much so that I saw her blink her eyes. And again, I'm I'm dumbstruck pretty much. My dad pulls into our driveway, and as we get closer to our camper, I open up the car door and I jump out. I jump out of the car and I take off running. And I run, and we had a deck. Now, anybody knows how high it is from the ground to where the bottom of the door is on a camper. It's about 2.5, maybe 3 feet up. So my dad had built the deck that was level with that door. So all you had to do was open the door up. You didn't have to step up or anything. I jumped up the stairs onto the deck, unlocked the camper door, and jumped and ran into the camper. A couple seconds later, I hear my dad's car door shut, and I hear him walk up on the deck, and he's carrying my little brother. He puts my little brother up in his bed, and I'm sitting on my dad's bed. Now, my dad slept on a hideaway bed, like a queen sofa sleeper, and he just kept it out all the time. So I'm sitting on there, and I'm like, Dad, what was that? What was that? And he's like, you know what that was. What you think you saw is what you saw. And he starts grabbing all this food out of the cupboards, out of the refrigerator, and he takes them outside and he places them on a little table that we had out on the deck. Then I hear him walk off the deck. I hear his other car door shut because I didn't shut it. He shut that car door. He went and got a ladder from the shed, came back up, put the ladder up, and I'm watching him. He had a pole that he had put at the one end of this deck because he was a bird watcher, and he was going to put a bird feeder on the top of this pole so he could take pictures of birds and stuff like that. But he never got around to building that bird feeder. So it was just like a base, just a empty base. So he starts putting all this food up on this base, and then he comes down the ladder, comes inside, reaches under the sink, grabs a rag, and he takes this thing out of his back pocket. It's like a big tube of grease. And he climbs up and he greases this pole all the way down. And I'm looking at my dad, and he comes to the door after he puts the ladder up, and I go, Dad, why did you put that on there? And he's like, oh, to keep animals away. And I go, you mean like raccoons? And my dad goes, yeah, like raccoons. So everything had just happened. Him validating my thought process of a raccoon completely put me at ease for whatever reason it was. I knew something was still going on, but in that moment, my mind, all I could think about was those stupid raccoons trying to go up and get that food. So he comes back in, he grabs a pack of cigarettes, and he walks out onto the deck, and he closes the door, but it doesn't shut all the way. My dad was a smoker. He smoked outside. He never smoked around us. So then he goes, I hear him, and it's not verbatim what he said, but he said something to the point like, we saw you, and we know you saw us. These are my sons. These are my children, my family. We don't mean you no harm. We don't mean you any disrespect. This appears for you. Please don't scare or hurt my boys. We just want to make a home here. And I'm listening, I'm eavesdropping. I'm nosy as heck at 12 years old. And I hear my dad take his last drag off his cigarette, and he puts it in the little can that was out there, and he comes into the house or the camper, And I go, Dad, who were you talking to? And he goes, nope. He goes, I was praying. And I go, you were praying. You didn't say amen. And he goes, oh, well, amen. So then he kind of looks at me. He goes, do you want to sleep with me, bud? And I go, yes, absolutely I do. He's like, okay. So I'm all ready for bed. He goes and gets ready for bed. He comes in. And we're laying there. And, again, we're having, I know what we're talking back and forth, but I don't remember what we were saying. I fell asleep. And what seemed, I don't know, a few hours later, I hear, you guys know what that sound that wood makes when something really heavy gets set on top of it? Like how the pallets will crack and whatnot. Do you know that sound? The groaning and the cracking, that things. Um, that's what I heard. I wake up to the sound of something huge, like stepping on wood. And it's stepping onto the deck. And my eyes open up and I look at my dad and I can see my dad because he had this old, and anybody who's older than me or about the same time I am, you know, back in the late 70s, you had these gigantic alarm clocks that had like this amberish glow. It had those numbers that would flip up. They'd flip up or flip down or whatever direction. That's what he had. So I could see the clock. It had that glow. And I look at my dad, and again, he's pressing his fingers to lips. He's like telling me not to say anything. And then I hear something else step up onto the deck, and I hear it walking across the deck, and the deck is just screaming. I get ready to ask my dad a question, and all of a sudden I hear something run by the wall that I'm kind of leaning up against, and I also feel the foot thuds as its foot falls to the ground. And then I hear something again climb up onto the deck. And now I know I'm like, holy crap. And now I'm getting a little scared because now in my mind there's like 100 of them out there probably. I look at my dad, and just as I'm getting ready to ask him something, I hear something to the effect of like I hear like a vocalization. And I freak out. I grab my dad. He's trying to hold on to me and pull him as close as he possibly can. And I'm trying to become the shirt my dad's wearing. Like I'm burying my face in his back and I'm bawling. And I could, I knew my dad had his handgun with him. I didn't know what that was. I cried myself to sleep. I know I did. The next thing I remember is I see sunlight coming through the window on the door. And it wasn't a regular window. It was like a bathroom window. It was like opaque, so you could see light coming in and out of it, but you couldn't physically see anything. I get up and I open up the door. Now, as you're looking at the deck, we have this railing. It wasn't a wide railing; it was a thin railing. And I used to climb up on the railing, and I used to do backflips. I used to do backflips off of this railing. And my dad caught me doing it, and he would get super mad at me because he told me I was going to break my neck, and he told me, I don't want to ever catch you up on that railing again. Well, I'm sorry to say, this time I'm up on this railing, doing like a high wire act, and I'm trying to look at that platform up there. And when I look up there, I can see there is zero. There is 0 foot up there. And I jump off the railing. My dad hears this. He's like, you better not be on that railing. And I just start yelling, Dad, it's all gone. It's all gone. And he comes out. He's like, shut up. You wake up your brother. What do you mean? I go, Dad, it's all gone. All the food's gone. He's like, what? And so he starts kind of walking around the deck trying to get a good view, and he could see that it's gone. And now this time I ran over to the pole, and I'm looking at this metal pole, and you could see where something had grabbed this pole in multiple locations. And at one part of the pole, you could see where something had taken its finger and ran its finger all the way down this pole and then wiped this grease off onto the railing. Like, it's like, oh, and try to get it off of his finger. I tell my dad, I go, Dad, look at this, look at this. And he just looks at me and he's like, do not tell your brother a thing. Keep your mouth shut. And I'm like, Dad, but he's like, shut up. I do not need your brother terrified. Just shut up. So I'm keeping this secret away from my little brother, who happens to be like my best friend in the world. My brother was my shadow. My brother was my little brother was my best friend. So the time came, it was near summer or just at summertime. And it was a Saturday, and my dad was supposed to take us fishing. We were going to fish at this place called Clear Lake. And he got called into work. He had to do inventory, and he was mad as heck. So he was pretty much gone all day. And while he was gone, my brother and I, we started doing stuff that we weren't supposed to do. I mean, we're cranking up my dad's music. We're playing his records. You know, my dad had some really super, like, awesome records, like early Zeppelin, early Beatles, things like that. So we've got the stereo cranked up. We're eating junk food we're not supposed to be eating, drinking my dad's Pepsi. You know, that he always told us that Pepsi was like, that's grown up. That's for grown ups. You're not supposed to drink that. And I'm 12, but I'm still sneaking these Pepsis. And we had the door open, and I hear my dad pull up. And my dad did something I've only honestly heard him from that day to when he passed away. I've only heard my dad slam his car door like 3 times. Like 3 times. Now, anybody knows the type of car, again, you guys, I'm not a Mustang fan. My hot rod was a Nova, a 72. But my dad slammed his car door. And all of a sudden I hear him say my first and middle name. And I knew I was in trouble for something. But I don't know what I did wrong. So I come walking out, or walking towards the door, and he comes in, and he's like, do you want to tell me what happened to the burn barrel? What's up with the burn barrel? And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, the burn barrel, Daniel. Where's the burn barrel? I go, Dad, I didn't burn any trash today. We didn't have any trash to burn. We didn't have trash service, guys. We had to burn our trash. So we had a 55-gallon burn barrel that had like sand in the bottom of. My dad put it in there so it wouldn't blow over. And so my dad shouts out my first and middle name and comes running up on the porch or on the deck. And now he's like, well, you did something with it. Now I'm being accused of something I didn't do. And I had no clue he was talking about. So I started kind of getting a little sassy. I started letting my mouth write checks that my bottom wasn't going to cover. And he goes, get out here. Let me show you. And he's like, come here. Come here. Come here. He's gritting his teeth and using his finger like, get over here. And I'm like, okay. So I jump down the steps and I go around the front of the camper and I go to where the burn barrel was. And the first things out of my mouth, you guys, was, "Where's the burn barrel?" And my dad is like, "That's what I'm asking you. What'd you do with it?" I go, "Dad, I didn't do anything. I don't even weigh 100 pounds. I didn't do this." He goes, "Well, it just didn't get up and walk away itself." I go, "Yes, it did. I bet you that Bigfoot. I bet you that Bigfoot took it and did something with it." He's like, "That's ridiculous." I'm like, "I'm just telling you what I think, Dad." And he's like, "Well, where is it?" I go, "How do I know?" So now I'm starting to yell at my dad. And he's yelling at me, and I know I'm already past the point of no return, guys. I have, I am already past the point of no return. I've already wrote a whole book of checks that my butt is not going to be able to cover. So I just kept going with it. And he's like, "Well, you need to find it." I go, "Well, where am I supposed to look? I don't know where it is." He goes, "Well, I'll go over here and look, and you just go look." So I, for some reason, decided I'm going to walk into the woods where I saw that thing walk into. About 30 feet inside the wood line, I find the burn barrel. And it's not just sat in there, it is thrown in there. I go and I yell to my dad, "Dad, I found it." He goes, "You found what?" I go, "The burn barrel." He's like, "Where's it at?" I go, "It's in the woods." And he goes, "Well, how did it get in there?" And I didn't realize he was behind me. So I turn around and I'm like, "How in the hell am I supposed to know?" And he's right there. And I'm like, "Oh, you know." And he's like, "Let me tell you something." I go, "Dad, honestly, I don't know." He's like, "You need to." I go, "Dad, I can't even pick this thing up." So we both pick it up and we move it back to where it went. And so, again, my dad and I were shouting back and forth. And my little brother was like a peacekeeper. He was a peacekeeper. He hated to hear us fight. When we would argue, he would always try to get in between us and tell us to calm down or whatever, right? And he comes, my dad, he's like, "Listen, you don't need to tell your brother anything. Don't tell him." I'm like, "Dad, that's what it was." He's like, "Don't tell him anything." And as soon as my dad said that, my brother was walking around the front of the camper. He's like, "Don't tell me what?" And before my dad could say anything, I just blurted out, "Dad," I go, "Bobby, a Bigfoot threw the burn barrel into the woods." And my dad smacked me. Pow! And, oh, you want to hear my rake story? Ninja, shoot me an email. Kristen dropped it right there for you. So I look at my dad after he swats me in the back of the head. And my brother goes, "Well, I don't think it was one of the small ones that I saw." And we're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean? What do you mean one of the small ones that you saw?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "I've seen two small ones whenever we're playing music or we're out cooking out or on the deck." He goes, "I've seen them. I see them walk along the trees over here." He goes, "Come here, I'll show you." And he showed us this crop of trees. He said, "They'll sit right in here and they'll just listen. And then when we're done or we go inside, they get up and they leave." He goes, "I've thrown some tennis balls and baseballs out there to them, but they never give them back." You know, so that's pretty much, my sighting. And then what I found out were sightings that my dad saw it as well. My brother said he saw one of the younger ones jump out of our treehouse and take off running. We did have a neighbor that was further in through the woods, um, and they had an incident where they had they raised rabbits, and they had a huge rabbit hutch, and something had manipulated the locks to open it up like a person would, and killed all the rabbits. Um, Rabbits had their pulled off, and they were, you know. And I remember the dad saying, "They're all here, but what would do this? What would? They're all here, but what would do this?" And I had an idea. I think the one that hit the camper, um, and took the burn barrel and threw it in the woods. I think that's the one that did it. Now, we come to learn that It was a family unit. The one that threw the burn barrel, I think, was like a older teenager, young adult. Of course, the female was the mom. My brother saw two juveniles. He said one was as tall as my dad, which my dad was like 5'7", and he said one was as tall as me, and I was about probably almost 5 feet tall. And then the alpha male, or the dad, if you will, um, I didn't get a great look at him, but I called him the peeker because I did see him peek out from behind a tree a couple of times when we were up in our treehouse. Now, unfortunately, my dad lost the property. He got in a really bad car accident, was almost killed. We had to move to Tacoma for so he could recoup. And yeah, it was Washington State. It was in Graham, Washington, which I believe is Pierce County. And when we had to leave, my aunt came and picked my brother up and I up, and we didn't go back until like the following spring. And when we went back there, my dad lost the property. He sold the camper, and we were going there to get anything else that we wanted out. Now, I had pretty much taken everything I owned and wanted, and while my dad, my aunt, and my brother were in the camper packing things up, I was just walking around the property, and I was walking around the camper, and I noticed that it looked like something was trying to look into all of the windows. Um, I mean, we had all the blinds pulled and things like that. Now, you could say, well, it could have been anybody driving down that road looking to break in or whatever. But when you have the loft, the top part, I was also seeing the same prints on these upper windows where you'd have to have a ladder to stand up to look in those. So, and that's my sighting. Um, from there in 1991, I I joined the Air Force. I was an Air Force security police officer, and part of my training, I was stationed at Fort Dix, New Jersey, for some airbase ground defense training. And what's up, Bear? And like ground combat training. Now, Fort Dix, New Jersey, is an Army base that's right across, literally across the street from McGuire Air Force Base. So we were doing this training, and there was a time where we would go out into the Pine Barrens for training. Like we'd have to, hold on one second, you guys. I've got to plug this in. Give me a second here, guys. There we go. I'll plug that in. But anyway, we'd go out for training. Well, part of this training is we had to like learn how to go out on patrols and things like that, and set up ambushes, and we were out on patrol. I was walking point, and I was walking along the side in the bush, or in the brushes, bush, whatever you call it, alongside this huge road that you have like two deuce and a halves, two and a half ton trucks that could drive side by side. And as I'm walking, I'm about 20 meters ahead of the rest of my camp, or rest of my squad. We were supposed to go to this pre-designated area to walk into an ambush so we can be graded or whatever, judged or whatever you want to call it, evaluated on how we react to an ambush and how the other squad kicks off an ambush. And as I'm point man, I'm walking about, like I said, about 20 meters ahead. I see something stand up about 70 meters ahead of me, 70, 75 meters ahead of me on the left-hand side. Now, there was a moon, but it wasn't a full moon. And as soon as I see this figure stand up, I drop down to one knee. Now, our instructors had night vision. My instructor sees me drop down to one knee, and he comes running up. What's your problem? What are you doing? You know, We got to get to this place. I go, I just saw something stand up about 70, 75 meters ahead on the left. So he goes, he's looking and he doesn't see anything. He's like, there's nothing. There's nothing over there. Get up and we got to go. So I get up and he runs back. I hear him run back. So now I start walking. I take maybe 25 steps at the most. And this thing jumps up, like literally stands up and jumps, lands in the middle of this road. This road was maybe, I don't know, 25 to 30 feet wide. And one bound jumps in the middle of the road, and then another bound jumps to the other side. Now, when I see this thing jump up into the air, I immediately drop to the ground, roll to my right, and I try to get underneath some bushes. This thing hits the other side of the road and takes off running at a diagonal direction away from us. And he's making whatever, is making all of this noise. Like it's a bulldozer going through the woods. My instructor comes running up. He kicks me and says, get up. What are you doing? And it not like he booted me, kind of like nudged me to get up. I get up and I go, I just jumped across the road. I just saw it. He's like, you didn't see anything. What are you doing? Well, he told you we got to get over there. And just as he finished that, like part of that sentence, we hear automatic fire, gunfire take off. It's just M60 machine gun starts barking. M16 start barking. And my instructor's like, let's go, let's go. So all of us, my whole squad, we take off running as fast as we can. We get there in a couple minutes to where we were supposed to be. His instructor hears us coming. They meet up, my instructor, their instructor, and they start yelling at each other like, what's going on? You sent one of your guys over here, blah, 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 blah. It ran through our ambush. It scared the hell out of one of my airmen. The whole time you can still hear this thing running through the woods. As we're running up to this ambush here, we hear ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. And you can still hear this thing taking off. Now, you guys, we didn't have any live ammunition. It was all blanks. And he said whatever it was, it ran through their position. It scared the heck out of some of his airmen, and they just started opening fire. Now, I looked at my instructor. He looked at me, and all I did was like, I know what I saw. And that was like my other encounter. So, if you guys want to hear any stories, any reports, let's see if I get this thing going. My computer went to sleep. Let's see here. All right, guys, we're going to do this. If you guys want to hear a dogman encounter or a Bigfoot encounter, let me know what state. Let me know what county. If you want to hear about it. Oh, someone said about the Netherlands. Let me look to see if I can find something about the Netherlands. I think there is. Nope. I thought there was a dogman encounter in the Netherlands, but I don't see it. Let me do this though. Let's see here. Are there any okay. Well, I mean, in the Netherlands, you have gnomes, like the Gnome King, Kyrie. Let's see here. Let's see here. In the Netherlands, spring. Where's the Netherlands spring at? Became known after an incident with a Bigfoot-like creature. There were... Apparently there is Bigfoot in the Netherlands, or there have been wow. I don't want to be able to. I want to read about it. I don't want to see the video. So yeah. Did you get a good look up the Canada places I talked about? All right, let me look. California, Butte County. Ninja, I'll look at that right after I help Wade out here because he wanted something from last night. So, Butte, California. All right, and that's for Ninja. Okay, and let's do Canada for you, Wade. Now, whereabouts in, hey, Wade, whereabouts? Yes, there are encounters of dogmen. I have one in Lynn County. Well, Ninja, are you in you're in California. So next Saturday, a week from tonight, um what province is that in Battleford? Um I'll be doing 50 States of Fear and we're going to be covering Oregon. Saskatchewan? Okay, let me look here. Saskatchewan. Okay, so there I see one Class A that happened in 92. Um, but I don't see that place that you're talking about. Let's see here. Possible sighting by motorists south of Green Lake. Possible sighting by duck hunter near Wakwa. Hunters hear possible vocalizations and find strange deer kill outside Christopher Lake in Saskatchewan. Here's something Churchill River, Cypress Hills Interprovincial Park, and then McCaig. I think that's what it is. So let's see here. So which one of those do you want to hear about? Oh, Mount Hood. I heard there are some definitely things going on in Mount Hood. Oh, Ninja, you have to email me those. Your encounter and those as well. I hear a lot of stuff from fishermen, hunters, and mushroom hunters as well. So I'm going to. We'll do 2006 possible sighting by motorists in Green Lake. Let's see here. Uh, around Janet, good night. Around 15 kilometers south of Green Lake, Saskatchewan, on the west side of Highway 155. Seen in a ditch going into the brush. Uh, they said we also, let's see, we saw what looked like a large Bigfoot around 8 feet high with brownish red color in the ditch outside, just outside of Green Lake. Um, we seen him or her on Friday, April 14th, 2006 at 12:20 p.m. So it was in the noon hour. There was also a green caravan that also saw it. He or she looked like it had crossed the highway and was just going into the ditch when we saw him or her. It was leaned it was leaning in a forward motion, taking what looked like large steps into the brush as it was in the ditch when we saw it. I know it was not a bear or anything of that nature, and they said they were calling the police to report it. It was two adults and two children in the car. Also, a van ahead of us saw it. Not sure how many people were in that. So there's that one. And look, there you go. If you guys would like to get some coffee, check out Owl Eye Coffee at owl, OWLEYE, coffee.com. And at checkout, if you decide to get anything, hit that promo code Dano, DANO, for 15% off your purchase. Ooh, someone just jumped in and said hello. Who was that? Lisa, how's it going? All right, so we got Butte, California. We got Clarion County, Pennsylvania. Look up Butler Gargoyle near... Oh. See, that's something I haven't had on my channel. I would love to have it on there. All right. Let's see here. All right, so let's look up Butte, California. There are 7. What's up, Benny? Benny, it says Benny doesn't know. That's a cool name. Yes, I do believe in Bigfoot. And the reason I believe in Bigfoot is because I saw Bigfoot when I was 12. Butte, California has 7 reports. Oh, okay, this is a cool one, you guys. I love it when I find these. Forestry worker observes a Sasquatch in clear cut near Feather River. This is kind of a long one. Let's check it out. Let's see here. They're saying this story began in 1993. At the time, they worked for the U.S. Forest Service, Plumas National Area or National Forest. At the time, it was called the La Porte Range District. Long before this, as a young boy, my father had taught me to hunt, fish, and trap. I made my spending cash in junior high and high school by trapping, and like most young men, thought I was Mr. Outdoors. I was in reality a very good outdoorsman with several mountain lion sightings in my hunting and working career, 16 to be in fact. Many were very close range, within a few yards, much too close, but onto my only Bigfoot sighting. So you guys, this right here, this is kind of cool, because think about this. We all know mountain lions are real. We know they exist. To see a mountain lion out in the wild is an absolute rare thing to see. It's an absolute rare thing to say. Not making it up. Victor, I would love to hear your story. A lot of people, you caught their attention. I hear, wow, Victor, oh my gosh, oh my goodness. So if you've had an encounter, please send me an email. Van life. Chilling now, got a new campsite. Okay, cool. Lisa, what's going on? Your daughter's backyard is a pine barrens. Cool. Can someone, one of my mods, can you please drop my email address in the chat? You've only seen 2 mountain lions, and that's awesome. There's my email address, the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. The Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. If you guys have had an encounter and you'd like to come on the show or share your encounter with me, there's my email address, the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. If you guys are new to the chat, new to the channel, drop a 1 in the comments. Let us know where you're from. And if you would like to check out any one of the over 100 episodes I have, if you like what you hear, like what you see, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so back to this encounter in California. Um, let's see here. Does it give me? So the nearest town, Ninja, for where this sighting occurred was Feather Falls, and I don't know if you know where that is. So it was late September, and after working as a firefighter for years, I moved to the civil culture where I had been working for about 5 years. My task included overseeing contracts of reforestation on clear cut. Okay, so this is what they did. So I was meeting a contractor and showed him his work site. And when I was in the process to, well, hold on. And then I was to proceed to the far end of Weston Ridge, which drops off into the middle fork of the Feather River in Northern California out of Oroville. Oroville. It's a very remote area designated as Wild and Scenic Waterway. The site I was headed for was a set of three small clear cuts with settings within a few hundred yards of each other. We refer to them as the mountain lion clear cuts because a lion lived in the area, and between four of us, it had been seen 5 times in 3 months. Okay. The clear cut I was going to was the northernmost one, which is about 12 acres. It was basically a square shaped clear cut that sloped gently up a hill. In the lower northwest corner was a patch of forest that was not cut, about 20 feet circumference, and located just a few yards into the clear cut from where you would park. I arrived at the site about 11:20 in the morning, decided to eat lunch. I got started and thought I would get into the clear cut area while I ate to see if the lion would come by. I don't care if there's a mountain lion up there. There's no way I'm getting out of my truck. I ate lunch and took an additional 30 minutes break, being very still and quiet, looking for the lion. He never showed up, so I had work to do. This day, I was counting the number of trees in the clear cut that had been planted in spring. Let's see, taking a compass. Okay, I want to get into it. Here we go. He said he took a compass and would walk about 120 yards and then plotted the next one, repeated the process. He had left the bush and completed 2 plots and started walking a third plot when a loud noise ahead of me at the edge of the clear cut. The noise was so loud that I assumed it was a cow, and I did not even look up. After a few more steps, more noises, and this time I instinctively did look up to see a large creature walking up the edge of the brush line about 3 feet out of the clear cut. It was about 110 yards away. This creature was walking north, away from me at a 90-degree angle on 2 feet. I stood very still. Oh, excuse me. I stood very straight up and down while walking. I think it meant it did. It only walked a few feet and then stopped, leaned over slightly, and rested its forearm on a tan oak that was bent and facing horizontally in the air about 4 feet high. At this time, it was no further than 125 yards away. It remained there for about 45 seconds, with its head turned over to its left shoulder, looking at me. Its head or chin did not set or rest on its shoulder, as it did not seem possible for a creature to do this. But its entire face was visible except for its lower mouth and chin. The creature was oriented so that I could see the entire left side of its head to its leg and about 1 foot from the ground. In addition, I could see its entire back and the back of its right leg from head to ground. I could not see anything else on the right side or the front of the creature. It stood, they said, about 7 feet tall. It was lean, and I would guess between 350 to 400 pounds. Uh, it may have been heavier. It's hard to determine without ever seeing the front of the creature. Its legs, although a little longer than a man, seemed proportionate to its shape. From the waist up, however, the creature was very, very large. I would guess about 45 to 50 inches waist, but 80 to 90 around the shoulders. 80 to 90 inches around the shoulders. It seemed very man-like, covered in 2 or 3 inches of hair that was brown, reddish brown on the legs. It got somewhat darker to a more browner color as it went up its back. The hair was much shorter and thinner around the buttocks. Uh, it got longer and thicker as it went up its back. The hair on its back was not as long as it was on its legs, but by the time it got to its shoulders, it was long again and brownish to dark brown. The hair coming down the arms from shoulders to elbows was red, about 2 inches long at the elbow. The hair ended, and the actual elbow was covered with skin like leather that was black in color. Oddly enough, this is the feature that stands out the most to me to this day. Wow. That's pretty cool. What do you guys think of that one? All right, let's look at Carrion, PA. I'm gonna hit Pennsylvania now. The only state that I do not see a report from is Hawaii, guys. And the states that have the fewest reports are Delaware and Rhode Island. Those are the only two states, Nevada and North Dakota. Those are the only states that have a single digit reported sighting. Let's see here. All right, we're going to do Clarion County. I don't know if I spelled that right. Clarion. One reported sighting in Clarion County. So this, who wanted to see Pennsylvania? Who wanted to hear Pennsylvania? So 1972, there's a Class A sighting. Squirrel hunter turns to see a 6 to 7 foot tall beast walking upright for about 200 yards. About 25 years ago, maybe 1972, I was hunting squirrels with a 12 gauge double barrel shotty. I was sitting on a giant rock when I heard a noise behind me. I saw a very large, hairy animal, approximately 6 to 7 feet tall, walking upright. I watched this beast walk for about 200 yards until it was out of sight. At this point, I was petrified. I waited about 10 minutes, then I ran home. This absolutely was not a bear, and nothing has scared me more since. I was alone. I was about 14 at the time, and he said he'd been hunting all morning. So that's one. It's very short, to the point, what he saw. I wish he gave a little bit more description, like color, things like that. But again, this was taken. He was 14 years old at the time. You said Butler, PA, the gargoyle of Butler, PA. Let me look at that one here. Butler. Oh, here it is right here. Butler gargoyle. Okay, we'll look at this here. All right. Cool. Let me show you a rendering. This is a witness rendering of it. Let me put this around. So check this out, guys. So they're saying this is what the Butler gargoyle looks like. Okay. What's up, Don? Don Donaldson? Again, guys, this is the Butler Gargoyle. This is a rendition. Check that out. All right. And let's read about the Butler Gargoyle. All right. Let's see here. Come on now. The Butler Gargoyle is a Mothman-like creature at around 7 to 8 feet tall, or 2 to 3 meters. It was sighted from June 93 to about March 2011. It was described as having a bicycle helmet-like head and pale grayish skin. The first sighting was June of 93. Witnesses were working at Allentown. I can't pronounce it. Alani County, PA, when they saw a 7-foot tall creature walk in front of their car and was not at all scared of it. What? In March of 2011, a man was driving a rural road when he thought he was coming up on a deer. When he got closer, however, he saw that it was 7 to 8 feet tall and it had a Mothman-like structure. Another witness claims to have seen a Mothman-type creature as they came out of a bar. Considering they were drinking, it's highly unlikely. So again, it's funny. It has made some popular pop culture. There's I guess a game card that depicts the Butler Gargoyle. There's not really much on this. There's not really much on it. I mean, I wish there was more on it, but there's not. That's pretty interesting, though. I'll definitely have to look that up and see if I can find more information about that. Fisherman, what is going on, man? How have you been? How have you been? Medusa is the same thing as a gargoyle? No, it's not. It's not. Oh, not good, man? Oh, brother. Sorry to hear that, man. Sorry to hear that. You're in my prayers, brother. I want you to know that. All right, guys, let's do a couple more. Who wants to hear that Oregon dogman encounter? A gorgonette, yes, that's what she is. Okay, so Lynn County, Oregon, here's this dogman encounter. No, I already read this one, you guys. I read this one last night. This is the one where the person was laying on its side and they looked out the window because the neighbor's motion sensor light kicked on, and they looked out their window and they saw the silhouette of the dogman walk by. That's what it is. You want to hear the one I read last night? All right, I'm going to look at something here. No, that's not what I wanted to do. We'll do this. Okay. Okay, so Let's squash this debate about Medusa. No, I haven't listened to that yet. I'm going to. Okay, so here we go. Medusa is generally described as a woman with living snakes in place of hair. She appears to be so hideous that anyone who looks upon her will be turned to stone. Okay, we know this. Medusa and her Gorgon sisters are usually described as daughters of uh, Phorcys and Ceto. So they're not. She's a Gorgon. There you go. Okay? She's a Gorgon. She's not a gargoyle. She's not a Gorgonite. She's a Gorgon. There you go. Yeah, I'll definitely try to get her on. I mean, I know Jeff's going to try to put me in contact with her. Let's see here. Got you another one, Dano. What do you got? Greene County, South Carolina. Nope, Sinbad didn't. It's Perseus. Perseus defeated her. Greene County, South Kakalaki. What's facts? I've heard stuff coming out of Fort Campbell. Okay, Greenville. You mean Greenville? Wait, do you mean Greenville? You guys, we're not talking about mythology. We're not talking about gods and demigods and things like that. That's not what the Cryptid Podcast is about. This isn't a mythology lesson. Who's lacking context? All right. So Greenville, all there is a vocalization. At Greenville County. In Greenville County, there's only one reported, one report, and it says that it's a vocalization that were heard by four people out working on a field. There is no Greene County in South Carolina. You have Greenville County and you have Greenwood County. Greenwood County has no reported sightings, and Greenville only has one, but it's a vocalization. Here you want to hear a recent one? So here, May of 2025 in Sumter County, multiple sightings and related incidents near Rembert, near Cimarron Road. We live near Rembert, South Carolina. In the first sighting, my husband and I saw a reddish brown Bigfoot walking upright and swinging its arms. It walked from thick forest to thick forest on the other side of the road, crossing the road from ditch to ditch in 2 strides. My husband has had 2 solo sightings, both times walking a power line trail, which is cool because that's what a lot of animals will use. Both times the Bigfoot quickly headed into the woods away from him. They were probably 8 feet tall. In the first sighting, he saw a reddish brown Bigfoot walking upright and swinging its arms. The second thing happened, but it was a lighter brown color, almost like pine straw. My husband and a fellow hunter were in a hunting stand hunting deer and wild hogs. They were startled by some leaf rustling and a lengthy, deep guttural sound that they felt in their chests. At that time, all the forest noises stopped. They could not see what created the sound. We hear wood knocking occasionally from our house. We are hunters and we heard the wood knocking while we were hunting. The noise gets closer and closer until we usually just leave. We've had our house slapped a few times. The husband has been struck with green pine cones in the open yard while standing around their fire pit at night. That's crazy. That is crazy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. If you guys are new to the chat, please drop a 1 in the comments. Let me know where you're from. I am your host, Dano, of the Cryptid Podcast. We talk everything cryptids here. We don't talk religion. We don't talk politics. We don't talk mythology. That's what we talk about. Hey, Dano, check out a BFRO Class A encounter in Ontario. All right, let me look at that real quick. Hold on 1 second. Okay, you said Ontario. Class A encounter. Okay, so is it near Westport? Sioux Narrows, Fort Francis. What's up, Puck Elf? I'm gonna look real quick. I mean, there's a lot of Class A sightings. I'll look at the most recent one here. Yeah, let's see here. Nope, that's not the number. Nope. 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 Hey, Thomas, when did this happen? It occurred in 2003. Okay, so let me take a look here. That might narrow it down because there's quite a bit. So, 2003. Was it a sighting or... Okay, October 2003. 7139, is that it? Let me go back here and look, my friend. Yep, okay, I found it. You guys, here we go. October 14th, 2003. So 2003. Okay. Near Searchmount, Ontario, Canada, Ranger Lake Road. Before I start, let me give you my background. I'm 50. I have 2 kids, 2 grandkids. I've been married over 29 years. Have been a Toronto police officer for over 28 years. I started shooting when I was 7, started hunting woodchucks and rabbits when I was 8 or 9. I did a lot of fishing, boating, camping, hiking when I was a kid. Started hunting deer, bear when I was about 14 or 15, and have ever since. Started hunting moose about 14 years ago. My parents were Salvation Army officers and was transferred all over Canada. I have done all the above all over Canada during my young years and continue now in Ontario, where I permanently reside in Ajax, which is just about 10 minutes east of Toronto. For the last 10 years, I've hunted moose about 30 miles northeast of Sault Ste. Marie. Oh, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, where a small town called Searchmount near Northland Lake. Sault Ste. Marie, that's also up near Michigan, up in the UP. Over the years, I have seen all kinds of wildlife. Okay, we get that. Let's see here. The moose. Let's see. Well, there's all kinds of wildlife, but I've never laid eyes on what I saw last week while hunting moose. I thought I was losing my marbles, and uh, thought was reinforced when I told my brother-in-law, my hunting buddy, the story. I later told my wife over the phone, and she was intrigued by my story. She apparently told co-workers who found your site on the internet. When I called her to tell her I was on the way home, she told me about this site. There were several sightings in Ontario. That's when I realized that maybe I wasn't just seeing things or losing my head. My brother-in-law and I were hunting moose just southeast of Sault Ste. Marie on Tuesday, October 14th, 2003. I went up an old trail to where it came to a dead end. I got stuck on my ATV in the mud, but managed to get it out and turn around. I went partway back down the trail to where I found a clearing and parked on the west side where I could see about 200 yards north and south. I stopped there at about 7:45 a.m. I put out some moose cow and heat urine scent on the surrounding trees, and a few minutes later did a moose cow call on my horn. I looked at my watch, which said it was 8:05 a.m. At about 8:15, it started to rain. I didn't want to get my gun wet, so I put it in the back in the gun boot on my ATV. The rain helped hide my scent, but at the same time makes it noisy in the bush with the water hitting the ground, leaves, trees. At about 8:30, I started hearing footsteps and snapping twigs coming from the northeast of my position. Due to the rain, it disguised this noise until it was very close to me, and because of that, I wasn't ready. All of a sudden, I heard a distinctive sound of a bull moose raking its rack on the brush very close. I looked to my left and saw a huge bull uh, raking his rack about 70 yards from me. I reached back to pull out my gun from the boot, but dropped the boot cover on the top of my ATV, which made a loud bang. When I turned back where the moose was, it took off back into the dense brush. I thought this was a bit strange because I have seen several moose in the past that just stood there. They don't seem to be afraid of anything or just stand there. Uh, I've had them stand in front of me for several minutes before walking off into the bush like they don't even care I was there. But this time I couldn't understand why this one took off so fast. I stayed still for about an hour hoping it would come back. During that time, I called on my horn and heard him rake his rack on the bush twice and grunt at me as he headed off in a southerly direction through the bush. It turns out that there was a gully just out of my line of sight that he used to walk around me and disappeared. I was, I was later able to raise my brother-in-law on the radio, who showed up and went back to where I had seen the moose. He checked the brush, found fresh tracks. He's stating that he sprayed more cow scent. By the time it was around 12:30, he decided he would sit back the rest of the day, hoping to see the bull come back. He ate lunch. Um, During this time, my back was to the gully that the bull had used and walked around. At about 1:30, he started hearing heavy thumps behind him every now and then. Every time I heard one, I would turn around, but there was nothing there. I should mention that it was still raining. The sound of the rain hitting the ground or the leaves was quite loud, but these thumps were much louder. They sounded like a stone or something heavy hitting the ground, but every time I turned around, I saw nothing. At about 5:25 p.m., he got off the ATV to stretch his legs, to have a smoke, put his gun up. Um, let's see, to make sure it was within reach, stood in front of the ATV facing the gully where it was at my rear prior. While I was having a smoke, I started hearing the distinctive sounds of footsteps coming up from the gully, snapping branches and leaves crunching. I kept my eyes on the gully while I reached for my rifle. I thought the bull was coming back. When I looked into the gully about 40 yards straight in front of me, I saw what I thought was a man walking towards me. He was stooped over and looked like he was having trouble walking in the bush. He grabbed a tree and swung himself around and ducked or dove down behind some thick brush. The total time this took was 3 to 5 seconds, and he was gone. He looked he looked to me as if he was dressed in all black with a black torque or baklava on his head. Um, the reason I thought he was wearing a torque on his head was it seemed to be long at the back like a man wearing one. It looked to me like he was wearing a jacket, and the front of his jacket was open halfway where I could see different colors of lining showing around the neck area. It looked like it was light gray or almost blue on the chest area in the shape of a V. I couldn't really say how tall it was, but its legs were behind thick brush, and I could only see about mid thigh. But I would have guessed at the time he was anywhere between 5'8" and 6 feet tall. But he was about 40 yards away, and it's hard to judge height or size in the bush when you're not sure of the distance. His arms seemed too long for a man's, but they were extremely muscular, like a bodybuilder, with the typical V-shaped build. There was definitely no fat on him at all. I could see the different muscle groups in his upper body and arms bulging out, and could see that it had a washboard stomach. When he grabbed the tree, I saw that he had hands, not paws. He swung around the tree and dove for cover as if trying to hide from me. As I said earlier, it was a dull day and was raining, and he looked wet. He was covered with black or brownish hair, and it looked like the hair was stuck to him fairly close because he was all wet. What also gave me the bodybuilder impression was that he seemed to have no neck, or he had too much muscle on his shoulders that gave it that appearance. On top of all of this, his shoulders were extremely broad. Let's see here. See if he's seen anything else. He said he heard a hoarse, raspy cough, followed by a long, sad-sounding howl. It sounded like a wolf howl, but much deeper than any wolf he's ever heard. The sound came from about 20 yards from where he had first seen it dive for cover. When I first saw it, I thought it was a man, maybe lost in the bush. Was not wearing any orange at all. And if he's lost, why doesn't he just ask for help? I asked myself. But the howl he made me realize quickly that this was no man. The next thing going through my mind was, what the heck was that? This was not a moose. It was definitely not a wolf or a bear. It was nothing like I'd ever seen in the 35 years of hunting in these woods. What it looked like to me was a gorilla or very close to one, but it walked upright, not on all fours. I stood there motionless for almost a half an hour, or excuse me, hour and a half, waiting to see if it would show itself again. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah. What do you guys think about that one? So, all right, you guys. Let's do two more. Two more. Dogman or Bigfoot. Let me know. And then I'm calling it a night. So two more. Bigfoot or Dogman. Brainerd, Minnesota. Okay, so we'll do Brainerd, Minnesota, and then we'll do one Bigfoot, one Dogman. Okay. So Brainerd, Minnesota. You're gonna ask me to what county is Brainerd, Minnesota? Even though I live here in Minnesota, I have no idea what county Brainerd, Minnesota is. Brainerd is no, let me see. I don't think it's super far away from me. It might be an hour or so. Let's see here. It is. Let's find out what county it's in. It's Crow Wing County. And let's see here. It's about 2.5 hours away from me, so that's not that bad. So Crow Wing County. Let's see what we have. Yep, one report. 1978. Husband and wife have a bedtime visitor at their window near Emily. So not in Brainerd. Nearest town is Emily, Minnesota, Crow Wing County. Nearest road is Crow Wing County 1. They call it Little Pine Road. Moments after I crawled into bed, my wife whispered to me, "Jim, there's something outside the window." So I quietly got up, and when I flipped the light on, I saw 3 sets of eyes. Each set of eyes was 5 to 8 feet apart, that were somewhat orange around the periphery, and vague outlines of the head were pressed against the window screen. One of the critters appeared to be stooping to see into the top of the window, about 6 feet above the ground. After a blood-curdling bisymbolic scream, the bipedal creatures ran off. We frequently heard animal sounds come from the woods that I used to describe as a baritone wolf howl, backwards in German. Unlike a wolf howl that started with a high pitch going low, these started with a low pitch that went high. So they heard like a siren yell. Yeah. So it looked into their bedroom window. Interesting. And then we'll do a Dogman one. Here we go. Dogman. Give me a state. What state you guys want to hear a Dogman? Texas. We always do Texas. Alabama. Let's do Indiana. I haven't really heard anything come out of Indiana. Lola, what's going on? Hello, David James, what's going on? You guys, if I'm just seeing your name for the first time, I am sorry. I've been busy reading stories. So let's look at Indiana. Okay. Oh, you're in luck. We got one. So that means I'll be able to do another state. I've never heard of Dogman, but I saw one in town run past the floodgates down by the river on my way to the recently opened park that was closed due to the floodwaters. I it didn't look like a scary werewolf, but more like a weird dog running on three legs. Its tail was curled up. I went on a quest to find out what it was because I've never hallucinated and I knew what I had seen. The ones most people are reporting are not exactly like what I saw. However, had it stopped to look at me, I'm sure I would have found him quite a bit more frightening. Okay, that's a lot to do about nothing. Okay, so let's see here. Which city was that in? Floyd County. Da, 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 da. It Wherever there are some floodgates. So I'm not really sure. It gave zero detail as to where it was. It just said April of 2015. Okay, let's see. I know I had a bunch of people start. Let's see, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico. Okay, so let me write these down here. Okay, hold on. So we headed Texas. I'll put Texas down. These are going to be Dogman encounters, you guys. New Mexico, Louisiana, Arkansas. Let's see here. All right, so here we go. Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, and Arkansas for Dogman encounters. Okay, here we go. And we're going to go alphabetical order. I'm going to hit Arkansas first. Benton County, Arkansas. This is the only report. October 1972, my husband, our two babies, my brother, and I left. Oh, I read this one. Left Leavenworth, Kansas in our 1968 Volkswagen van on a camping trip to a recreational area in Arkansas called Beaver Lake. When we finally got there, we found a fairly remote campsite at the far end of the park. We wanted to be alone as the babies woke up often during the night and needed to be fed. We did not want to disturb any other campers. Well, that was very nice of them. Shortly after pulling into our campsite, my brother pitched his tent next to the van. The rest of us were going to sleep in the van. The campsite was in an area with a horseshoe-shaped rocky terrace ledge that rose about 50 feet to around 100 feet as it curved around behind the four campsites. Because of mature trees and thick brush, daylight had trouble poking into our spot. Fast forward to that night, sometime around 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m., I heard some animal sounds on the ridge that I thought were being made by coyotes. The babies weren't asleep. The babies were asleep, and all was quiet otherwise. Now I peered out of the window, but couldn't see what was making the sounds because it was so dark. Still hearing odd yips and howls, I laid back down on the back seat. Moments later, there was a huge crashing bang on the van wall right next to my head. My husband leapt up out of a full sleep. My brother bolted out of his tent and jumped into the van with us. We were all in a panic, looking in every direction, trying to see what had hit the van like that. My brother finally yelled that he saw something moving behind the van. We all turned, just in time to see a large shadow moving about 20 feet behind the van from the left to the right. After about 20 minutes, we passed without any, it had, ugh. After about 20 minutes had passed without any of us seeing movement out there, my husband and brother went out to inspect the van for damage, but found none. We then started hearing pounding steps coming from the brush about 50 feet behind us. The guys eased back into the front seat of the van. That's when my husband turned on the headlights and stepped on the brake pedal for the rear light. Instantly, there was a huge commotion. He started the engine, and that's when, in the glow from the headlights, we could see a hairy thing about 10 feet away coming up towards the van. As he got closer, its silver-tipped hairs glistened in the light. It had a grayish streak from the shoulder down its back to its buttocks. The creature was walking on two legs, around 7 or 8 feet tall, had a barrel chest and skinny legs. It never gave us a good view of its eyes, so I can't tell you what they look like. I could see that the face was not ape-like, but it was dog-like. It had ears. Its ears had tufts of fur on the top of them. It was very human-like in its movements and general body structure. It moved smoothly, quickly around the back of the van, where it followed the base of the ridge away from us. That's when it let out a menacing huff and a low grumbling growl like a dog. Instantly, my husband and brother bolted from the van, trying to get a better look. That's when a shower of gravel came at my husband. My husband and brother tore back into the van and burned up the road getting out of there. I kept looking out the back window and they looked in the rearview mirrors, but none of us ever saw anything. It just didn't seem Sasquatch was what we had seen. It seemed too dog-like in the face and was too slim in the body. I still have PTSD like feelings to this day due to the encounter. And that was told by Pam W. Now, here's the thing. Her husband and brother are idiots. There is no way I would have ever gotten out of that van to get a better look. Forget that. And another thing I find wrong with this story is there's no way that her husband burned up the road in a 1968 Volkswagen van. That just didn't happen. Sorry. What's up, Danny Ballard? I've driven Volkswagen vans. They're not hot rods. So, all right. So that takes care of Arkansas. Let's look at Louisiana. The Rougarou. All right. Okay, Louisiana. Oh, so we have Jefferson Parish and Rapids Parish. Let's do Jefferson Parish. Okay, well, this is a long one. 2012. My encounter happened just a few years ago in South Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. Here in Louisiana, we call counties parishes, in case you did not know. I was hunting deer or wild pigs one night on a protection levee system that was built to protect our town from hurricane floodwaters. As I walked to where the levee turns off to the left, there was a canal woods that was about 100 yards from the houses. To the left was a natural ridge that goes out into the swamp and marsh. Well, as I made that turn from the ridge of oak trees, I hear a growl. I thought it might have been a coyote or dog, so I walked slower. Then I heard brush and a smaller sized tree shake, and another growl happened. I shined my light in that direction of the sound and saw a pair of eyes that were reflecting an amberish yellow color. What surprised me was the fact that the bush was about 6 feet high and the eyes were about a foot above the bush. When I saw those eyes, I slowly backed up, kept my light on the thing. As I walked back to the turn, I headed back to my truck, which was parked about 3/4 of a mile away. It came out of the woods. I lit the thing up with my light again. Now I was probably 30 feet from it. And this is when I saw its whole body and face. The body was covered with black hair, with some brown mixed in. The hair was thickest around its head, neck, chest, and upper back. You guys, you hear this before. Now think about this, you guys. When you guys hear someone talk about seeing a dog man, they describe it having one of these. It looked a lot like a lion's mane, but wasn't as pronounced. Since all of the hair was all the same color, it had pointy ears with a little bit of hair coming off of the points, making its ears seem a little longer. It stood on two legs, but the legs were weird and backward, like, so they're saying it was kind of like a dog's. Wade, good night, buddy. The arms were really long, longer than the legs. It had hands that were a mixture of human and bear, like a really big raccoon front paw. That's what they're saying. It had paws, but it also had fingers. That's the only way I can describe it. If you watch the movie The Howling, you'll get the idea of what this thing looked like. It's as if whoever made that movie knew something others did not. Now, at this point, I was freaking out, so I pulled up my rifle. I hunt with a Romanian AK with a camel pattern job. I did it myself. The way I was hunting wasn't exactly legal. That's why I took my Romanian AK. If I had to toss it, I wouldn't be out much money. The rounds I used are special rounds made to hunt feral hogs. I've dropped deer and hogs with these rounds before, one shot, and they're done. But back to the story. As I pulled up my rifle to the ready, it growled and walked a few steps towards me. I fired a round right into the chest area. I knew I had hit it because the creature took a step back. As it stepped back, I ran towards my truck. That's when it let out a loud growl and a howl like I had never heard before. I grew up hunting and fishing and thought I knew everything in the woods, but I hadn't heard anything like this at all. As I ran back to my truck, it stalked me but kept its distance. As I got closer to a well-lit area where my truck was parked by the town library and elementary school, it stopped following me. I tried to find anyone who may have had similar encounters in the area, but all I could find was the old legends of the Rougarou. I told my grandpa about what had happened, but told him it was a friend who had told me it happened to him. So he's telling his grandpa, hey, my friend told me this. He told me when he was 17 in the same area at night hunting, he heard a howl like nothing he'd ever heard before. He also told me that something had stalked him as he ran home that night. He said he never saw it, but he could hear it following him through the brush and swamp. That encounter has changed my life, my perception of what is real, and what will never be the same again. I still haven't gotten over that night. I went back a few days after the incident and found two large dog tracks as big as my hands, and I wear large size gloves. And that's Louisiana. Holy smokes. New Mexico. Let's see what we got here in New Mexico. New York, New Mexico. Here we go. We'll do Eddy County or Eddy County. For some background info, I was raised in the deserts of southeast New Mexico on 2 different ranches. I'm very versed on the flora and fauna of our beautiful state. I even used to track semi-professionally for hunters and our local trapper. I know all the critters around the state. We always lived on very remote ranches, 50, sometimes 70 miles from the nearest actual town. My senior year of high school, I moved out on my own, being a part of the DECA program to live closer to my job and school, living about 12 miles from Arisa, New Mexico. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I am. Where my school and job were, seems like living right in town after all that. So my story starts in April of '99. My boyfriend and I were rooming with a couple in a trailer house just outside Lakewood, New Mexico. We rented a room from them and sometimes watched their two kids as part of our rental agreement. For a few weeks that April, a lot of the neighboring landowners had been complaining about wild dogs coming up from the river and harassing their dogs and scaring their livestock. We were about a mile from the Pecos River, and wild dogs have indeed been a problem in that area. One guy even had reported some structural damage to one of his chicken coops. The couple we lived with had two dogs, both of them medium-sized terrier mixed, and neither of them were on were on the cowardly side. They'd been getting very skittish about going outside at night. So much so much so that we had to make sure to let them out right at sunset and then again at sunrise because they would not leave the trailer house otherwise at night. One Saturday night at about 11 p.m., near the end of the month, the four of us were sitting around watching TV and just basically talking about stuff when the dogs, who were asleep in the master bedroom on the far side of the house, started growling and barking at the window on the south wall of the bedroom. This was really unusual behavior for them, so we all got up to see what they were barking about. By the time we got there, the dogs had shifted their barking away from the window and seemed to be barking at the wall and along the wall, like they could smell something there, but it was moving. It was very, very strange. And when they came up to the end of the room, their barking just went crazy. Suddenly, from further down the wall, at the same time, about where the kitchen was, we heard a loud thump and scuffling sound. It was powerful enough that we actually felt it. The dogs at this point had now completely lost it. They cried out a high pitched whine and just dove underneath the bed. We all ran out of the bedroom, down the hall, and into the kitchen to see what the heck was up. Peering out the kitchen window was pointless, as it was late, there was cloud cover, and the moon wasn't even out. We heard the scuffling noise again from further down the house. We went to the living room to see what was up. We were all really confused at this point. The next few moments seemed to happen in slow motion, appearing in the living room window from the right and from the left and looking right in on the glass with us well, I don't know what it was. From the shoulders up, I can only describe it as a man dog. Its shoulders were quite human, with short, sleek hair, but it had the head of what looked like a Rottweiler. And the teeth, oh my gosh, the teeth on this thing, all four of us screamed at about the same time. I guess that's what scared it off, because it just disappeared. The image is forever seared in my head. Also, of note, this was a trailer home, so the bottom of the window was easily 6 foot off the ground, meaning this thing was 7 feet tall, something. No matter how big of a dog or wolf it was, it could not have stood up and looked at us like that in the window. There you go. What do you guys think of that? That was New Mexico, and now we're going to hit Texas. And you guys, after this one, I'm going to have to call it a night because I am sleepy. So let's hit Texas. I don't know what I'd do if I look out a window and saw something looking in my house. Well, I know what I would do. I would take care of something. Time to turn the lights on. Betty. Let's see. And I read one of these. Let's do Freestone County. Oh, let's see here. I was out at my grandparents' house hunting coyotes as usual this time of year. I was hiking through my next door neighbor's land to get to the wooded cover land in the back. While I was hiking, I got this feeling I was being followed by something to my right. I stopped and switched the red tint on my headlamp to my spotlight, but didn't see anything. Then I switched back to my headlamp and pulled my rifle back up and continued to hike. It was around 6:15 a.m. and the sun was just coming up. I was sitting in a hide I had made the day before. That's when I saw something behind a group of trees on my left. It was crouched. I raised my rifle, looked through my scope, and froze when I saw the creature staring back at me. I panicked and fired a shot off. That's when it stood up and took off, deep into the woods. I sat there probably another 25 minutes before I decided it was safe to head out, and did so. Later the day, I grabbed my grandfather, and we both went out there where I had seen that creature when it stood up on two legs and took off. We measured where I had seen it. It was roughly 7.5 feet tall. To this day, I'm terrified to go out at night or in the early morning hours. Now that's a short one, so I'm gonna do one more from Texas. We'll do Trinity County. My encounter occurred 20 or so years ago, way before what I saw even had a name. My encounter with what you call a dogman happened one afternoon as my family and I were returning home from shopping. I was living in a little town in East Texas at the time. We lived about 10 solid minutes from any real signs of civilization. The town itself at the time had a population of around 500, and it took about 10 minutes of dirt road driving just to get to the gas station or general store. The nearest town was called Lufkin, and its population at the time was around 30,000. We headed home, and when we were on the first part of the longest dirt road we had to drive down, there were several large hills that would make your stomach churn if you hit them too fast. We had just gone over the first one of them on our journey home when I saw something up ahead. At first, I thought it was a deer. It was large and brown and was jumping over a barbed wire fence on the right side of the road. It leapt over the barbed wire fence and managed to not only clear the fence, but land roughly in the middle of the road. This already made me perk up a little, as that was an impressive jump even for a deer. As we got closer, whatever it was took another impressive lunge and made its way to the other side of the road, just shy of the barbed wire fence on the other side. It never stopped but continued up the embankment. I could swear as it propelled itself up the side, it looked back at us over its shoulder as if it were deciding what we were. I'm still not sure. Okay, and let's do one more. Is it Barzora County? I hope I'm saying that right. Probably not. Okay, it's another one. I was driving on an unpaved back road, country back road, about 50 miles an hour. Suddenly, there was something in front of my driver's side headlight. I didn't see it until it was there. I didn't see it run across the road. It was just like it showed up. Poof, there it was. It was traveling to the left. I caught that glimpse of it, and then it was gone. I hit my brakes when I saw it, so I was then going around 20 miles an hour and looked in the direction of it to see where it was gone, and I saw nothing. It was flat saltgrass prairie with no trees, so I should have been able to see it. At that time, with the knowledge I had, the only name I had for it was werewolf. Now I would call it a dogman. This is what I saw. It was bipedal, a black wolf. Its legs were really skinny, backwards looking, and it was hunched over so that its arms hung low. It was about 5 feet tall, bent over like it was. If it was standing, I would guess it would gain at least another foot to a foot and a half. It had a thick torso, but not too thick. It had long hair like a small cape across its shoulders and upper back down to the end of its shoulder blades. The rest of the body was covered with short hair, almost hairless. It had a shaggy tail. All right, you guys. That was that. You guys, I had a great time tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to say thank you to all the mods. Thank you for all the work you guys did tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for staying on top of stuff. All the people who are members of the channel, thank you so much for the support you show. Any of my subscribers who are in the chat, thank you so much for being subscribers. I also want to say thank you to all of the new people that are popping in that I don't recognize your names, but I hope to see you in some of the comments of some of the episodes that I have. Well, actually, I like to see them in all of the episodes I have. Um, and also some of the upcoming lives. Now, just to let you guys know, starting next week, so in December, I'll be dropping new episodes every Tuesday and every Thursday. Once a month, I'll drop a Saturday episode, which members of the channel will have early access to that show. And then every other Saturday, I'll be doing a live stream where I'll be covering states of the United States in a series I like to call 50 States of Fear. We're coming up on episode 5 this coming up Saturday, and we'll be covering the state of California. If you guys haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you guys like what you see and like what you hear. If you guys like coffee, check out owleye.coffee.com. That's OWLEYE coffee.com. If you do purchase something at your checkout, drop the promo code DANO, DANO, all in capital letters, DANO, to get 15% off of your 15% off of your purchase. Again, you guys, thank you so much for everything you do. Uh, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Um, I'm not going to get out of here without saying, like my buddy Josh from Mr. Unknown always says, you guys stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, you guys remember, a legend begins with a sighting. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next show.